I have an incredible story to share with you today. I interviewed a woman who swam Seneca Lake. Oh, you think, okay, not such a big deal because Seneca Lake you can see from one shore to the other. But she swam from the northern tip in Geneva, New York, all the way down to Watkins Glen, which is 38 miles long. This swim, which took place in August 2015, she was 52 years old at the time, said that this was one of the toughest swims that she ever did. And this was from a woman who was a veteran, open, competitive swimmer who had even swam the English Channel. She said Seneca Lake was the toughest water she ever swam, that it was harder even than the English Channel because winds created difficult swimming conditions. What you'll find in this interview that follows is that a strange storm came up in the middle of the night, which kept pushing her back or didn't allow her to make progress. And what was really odd was people on the shore didn't even experience this storm that happened. Remember, Seneca Lake is really, really deep. In fact, 200 feet of it are below sea level, and she swam it overnight. This is her story. Bridgette Hobart Janeczko. Hello, I'm here today with a famous swimmer known as the Lady of the Lakes, Bridgette Hobart Janeczko. Hi, Bridgette.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for this interview. I want to talk about your swimming career, and I understand your love of swimming came at a really early age. Can you tell us about your background?
Sure. I'm actually not a natural water baby that a lot of people just assumed I was. I actually failed swim lessons multiple times in my youth, but that all changed on my actual 11th birthday. And I think that's why I've always picked big swims on my birthdays. It's a milestone for me. Just out of the blue, I just decided that was the day I wanted to learn how to swim too. I just grabbed a suit and I went to tryouts, and I think they kind of sensed that I probably shouldn't have been there, but they gave me a chance, and I credit Bill Ruffson is his name, and I credit him for seeing something in me that I never saw in myself. I then swam right through high school and then through college, and then I took a 20-some-year break, and in 2007, my step-gram, Agnes Hobart, or Aggie, she was terminally ill and going through her shutdown process, as she called it. She found the article, it was actually in October 1979, where I was a high school athlete of the week in Binghamton, New York, my hometown, and there was a quote from me stating that when I celebrate 50 years in swimming, I want to celebrate by swimming the English Channel when I am 61 years old. At that time, she had me promise her that I would get back to swimming after she passed by bluntly stating, if you have time to come and watch me die, then you have time to make time for swimming. And she was correct, and I think of her often. She is the one that got me back into swimming. I started again in my mid-40s, and I've been continuing from there.
So now I want to focus on your swim on Seneca Lake.
Mm-hmm.
So you decided to start in Geneva and end in Watkins Glen. And at that time, you were 52 years old, right?
Correct.
And what was that day like? And what led you to decide to start in Geneva?
We focused heavily on forecast because it was more important to me to finish in Watkins Glen, because that is where my parents' property is, right? So I wanted to finish there. That's the only reason. But basically we decided to start at Geneva. We actually started around 6 p.m. The forecast was supposed to be basically, as it started out, beautiful night, flat, beautiful moon. We did expect some turbulence in the water around 11 p.m. for about an hour with two storm systems colliding, and then it would flatten out. And it did. It flattened back out. But then in about another hour later, all heck broke loose on that lake, and nobody knew. We were talking to our land crew. Nobody had issues on land. They couldn't believe we had wind. The air during the swim went from 81 to 60. The water went from mid 70s to under 70s. And we finished about 4 to 6 hours longer than we estimated. Cayuga was 20 and a half hours, I believe it was, but it all kind of just fell apart when all the conditions hit. But in my mind, I thought I was really rocking it, because I'm swimming and I see water flying over the front of our pontoon boat, And to me, that's kind of like, you're really going at it, but ends up we weren't. And when morning hit, I remember saying to my husband, I said, we're really killing this, aren't we? And he was just like, no, we're not. Why would you think that? And I'm like, it feels like we're really just plowing through. He said, no, your progress is not good. You're basically through the night. Sometimes we're nearly swimming in place with these conditions. You're probably going to have 12 more hours of this. Are you okay for that? And I just remember just sitting there going, oh, but I just kept swimming. And time passes. I do 30 minutes at a time. And then eventually I saw the sheriff boat come out, and I panicked. And that really was motivating, because immediately I'm like, they're going to pull me. They found out we were out here. They're going to pull me. But now I'm like, okay, how can I convince them this is still a good idea? And ended up to be, my husband stopped me for a feed, and I'm like, are they trying to pull me? He said, no, they're just coming to support you. And I was like, really? I think the biggest thing I got out of swimming the Finger Lakes, especially Seneca, is how important a team is, and, everybody having the same goal. Our crew on Seneca was strong.
Right.
So that was a big motivator.
So when all was said and done, and you were nearing the boat launch in Watkins Glen, there was a crowd of people there. And at that point, it had been over 24 hours, right?
Yeah, it was. It was
exhausted.
We were so late coming, and it was so funny because, we carry marine radios too. And I remember on a feed, I'm like, what are they asking? He goes, oh, people are finished. They want to know how much longer. They keep asking. And
well, I just can't imagine that you swam a total of 24 hours and 41 minutes and 38 miles overnight. And I happened to be there by random chance, Bridgette, when you emerged.
I know.
And I remember that's partly why I wanted to look you up after all these years. And when exactly was the swim again? What was the date?
I started on August 28th at 6:01 p.m. and I finished on August 29th, and it was the official time was 24:31. And so that was the swim that I actually became a member of what we call the 24-hour club. And we knew that was probable a couple hours before it happened. And my husband goes, at this pace, the good news is you'll be in the 24-hour club. And I'm like, great.
So Bridgette, I just want to wrap this up by saying that I was there by random chance when you came out, and my thoughts were, what's going on? How could anyone possibly have swum from Geneva to Watkins Glen? That's 38 miles. And what were your thoughts at this time?
At the end, you would think everybody would get out and go, yay, I'm done. But I never feel like that at the end of a swim. It really, your focus is, first of all, your core is getting colder. So my goal was just standing up without getting hurt. And other than that, it's the first lake I was actually cold on. And then I just tried to take it all in. And I think my favorite picture at the end is all of our crew coming together. So it was just kind of like a reunion, and everybody getting together.
Well, it was so neat to be there, because I didn't understand really what was going on. And when I saw you come out, you were all bent over, you were all covered with white. I also noticed that no one could help you get out of the lake. Yep, I saw your husband put your clogs, your sandals there, and you were barely able to come up out of the lake, but you did it. Did it. And then you were wrapped in a towel, and I saw your parents opened, they toasted you.
Yeah, they for some reason I'm shaking, but everybody thought, cold champagne was a good idea. And then I remember Tom on my crew, Tom Meady's like, well, can I get you some? I'm like, I need something warm. I'm getting cold. I need something warm, like tea. And he gives me hot water, and he's like, do you have a tea bag? And I'm like, Tom, where would I come up with a tea bag? I just got out of the lake for a day. So it was just we were all just kind of tired and giddy at that time. And then we all went back to where I am now, the boathouse. And probably the biggest mistake I made was getting back on the pontoon boat to drive back via boat down the canal. The best video would have been seeing me get off that. The water was a little low. I could not get off the boat. It was really a bad scene.
Oh, wow.
Well, I just couldn't move.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, meet the lake lady, the only woman that we know of who swam Seneca Lake from top to bottom. Thank you, Bridgette.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.